How's it going, guys? Stas here. Welcome back to another video and happy Memorial Day. Hope you guys are having a great day out there. Cheers, by the way, with your friends, your family. Hope you guys are celebrating. And yeah, we're going to break down some stocks. We have 5 in particular to cover, all of which are reporting earnings this week. And we have to break down some news we just got regarding the EU, tariffs, Trump, kind of what's going on there. So guys, jam-packed video. Hit the like button. Feel free to subscribe and join the free email stock newsletter where I send you my top stocks weekly right to your inbox. That is linked down below. And with that being said, cheers again for the 5th time and let's dive into it. So over the last 5 days, over the last week of trading, if you will, stocks sold off, right? It wasn't the best week last week for the S&P 500. You guys can see we downtrended pretty much the entire week, and the same thing is true on QQQ, the NASDAQ 100, the tech-heavy index. This also downtrended all week last week, thanks to the bond market, right? The 30-year, the 10-year, those keep going up thanks to Moody's dropping the credit rating, right, on the United States. We saw that about a week ago at this point, little over a week ago. All of that put pressure on the stock market last week, and I think the yields, I checked earlier today, the yields are still pretty elevated even after we got some news regarding tariffs, the EU, right? A pushback. We're going to cover that. Tariffs got pushed back a bit there. And of course, we'll cover these earnings. We have 5 companies to break down. So let's do it, man. Let's do it. So like I said, we've been downtrending the last couple of days here in the market, but when in doubt, zoom out. Obviously, we're still breaking out in the grand scheme of things on QQQ, on SPY. We're still seeing a golden cross on both of these indexes on the 4-hour time frame. So bulls are still in charge, right? And this little pullback, you could argue, was much needed. We're coming down towards the 180 SMA on this 4-hour chart on SPY, which has acted as support. You could argue buyers might come in there. I could see it happening. So keep your eyes kind of on this dip here. Will we dip further this upcoming week, or will buyers start coming in, right around 560 to 580 on SPY, right around this moving average? And same thing on QQQ. And by the way, if you haven't noticed, the stock market is closed today, so we have a short week trading-wise, but it's still going to be a big one. It's still going to be an important week overall for stocks. So let me pull up this article from, I think, Yahoo Finance. It doesn't matter where it's from. Either way, let's cover what's going on right now with the EU, with tariffs, what's going on there. So Trump tariffs, you can see Trump delays EU tariff hike. EU sees new impetus. Let's come over here and zoom in. So President Trump reversed course Sunday evening on his threats to impose huge tariffs on the EU after talking with the bloc's head, delaying new tariff implementation to at least July 9th. So what's that? Like another month and a half away from now. So on Monday, the EU stated that the phone call between Trump and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen gave new impetus for the negotiations, quote unquote. And just 2 days after charging the bloc has been very difficult to deal with and declaring that discussions were going nowhere, Trump pushed back a June 1st deadline for a straight 50% tariff on the EU to July 9th, which I think this in and of itself could cause stocks to go up tomorrow, potentially. Not guaranteed. We'll see how it goes, and we'll see how the futures market looks tonight. But overall, that's the big news. They're getting pushed back to July 9th, which by then they might already have come to a deal, a negotiation, right? They're going to negotiate, and by then they could, that 50% tariff could be cut by a lot, who knows. But talking to reporters in Morristown, New Jersey, Trump confirmed that July 9th would be the day, before adding, "We will rapidly get together to see if we could work something out." So yeah, I mean they're gonna come to a deal by then. This is all negotiation, right? And the European Union, which has 27 member states, comprises the largest U.S. trade partner, and the U.S. has reportedly been pressuring the EU to cut tariffs on American goods, and the EU is reportedly readying some $108 billion in retaliatory tariffs if talks fail, which I don't think they'll fail. I think they will come to a deal in the next month, month and a half. I could be wrong. Who knows? I could be wrong. But by July 9th, I think we will have a deal with the EU. But yeah, that's a quick breakdown there on the news regarding Trump, the EU, tariffs. But like I said, we got this news, and the bond market as of now, it's still kind of hot. We'll see if those yields come down this week. Time will tell. What do you guys think about that? Let me know in the comments. But let's start running through these stocks, these companies that you need to watch. So number one is Costco, ticker symbol COST, which is now back over $1,000 a share. Costco stock dumped actually well under $1,000. It got down to $860, $865 back in April, early April, and now we are up about 17% off those lows, and it kind of looks like we're breaking out again, right? We have a reversal, clearly. Golden Cross, we're above the 180 SMA heading into earnings, which, by the way, earnings are on, let's see the day. They're on the 29th. So what is that? Thursday. I think they're on Thursday after the bell. So Costco's expecting, well, I guess analysts are expecting Costco to report earnings per share of $4.23 versus $3.78 from last year on revenue of $63.1 billion versus $58.52 billion from last year, up around 7.8% year over year. So Costco, guys, 8% revenue growth expected year over year. EPS expected to grow quite nicely. What else is new, right? Costco always seems like they're crushing it. The stock's always trading at a premium, which is why I've never bought the stock. I love the company. I want to own the stock one day, but it just always trades at a premium. And when you're investing in the stock market, guys, it's not just about buying good companies. It's about buying good companies at great prices. And at this point, I'm not buying Costco, at least as an investment. Maybe as a trade, maybe it rebounds, $20-$30 after earnings back to where it was last week. Maybe that happens if earnings are strong, but time will tell. Earnings are again on Thursday. I have an alert at 10:50. I'm going to bring that down a little bit. Maybe we'll slap that on at about 10:15-ish. We'll leave it there. I'll replace it, and we'll see how that goes for Costco. CRM is another one for this week. And by the way, guys, hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe if you're finding value in this video. And if you want to see more content, hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. I appreciate you guys. Cheers. Again, thanks for tuning in. CRM, Salesforce, it's been struggling. Salesforce is down over $1, or not $1, $100, quite the difference, $100 from all-time highs, or about 27%. So Salesforce is in a bear market, but it has slowly been reversing since April, really early mid-April. CRM's been starting to break back out here, so we're noticing now it's hanging on the 180 SMA by a thread here on the 4-hour chart. So yeah, it's been reversing, it's been breaking out, but now it's been selling back down the last week. It's down actually 7-8% in the last week. So we were breaking out, but now we're starting to dump back down, and we're holding on this moving average by a thread, which if that breaks, just like that, we're back in a downtrend, which would not be ideal, for CRM overall. But we'll see. Maybe earnings can finally bring the stock back up. It's been struggling for months. So EPS is expected at $2.55 versus $2.44 from last year. Let's see on revenue. 9.75 billion versus 9.17 billion, or 9.13 billion, excuse me, from last year. So revenue is expected to grow 6.75% year over year, which definitely has slowed down for CRM, which was growing a lot more not too long ago. But yeah, I mean, we'll see, man. If they surprise, if guidance is strong, maybe finally the stock could start seeing some momentum. And maybe this inverse head and shoulders that's kind of forming, you guys see that here? Maybe that would play out. We shall see. That's CRM, Salesforce. We also have Dell this week. DELL is the ticker, which is kind of similar on the charts to CRM. Obviously, very different companies here, but Dell was downtrending for months. Now it's starting to reverse. You know, you guys see that right here. Starting to break out, but it has pulled down a little bit over the last couple of days. So let's see if earnings are strong enough to propel this thing higher. I think Dell's on Wednesday. Let me double check. No, they're on Thursday after the bell. And CRM, I don't think I gave you guys the date on this one, or the day. They're on Wednesday. So they're in 2 days after the bell. So going back to Dell, analysts have them doing earnings per share of $1.69 versus $1.27 from last year. On revenue, let's see, $23.19 billion versus $22.24 billion from last year, up 4.2% year over year. Not bad for Dell. Obviously, their growth days, their massive growth days, are behind them. But yeah, I mean, the stock's slowly breaking out here. We're still a good 30, 35 bucks away from the recent highs. So if we do see great earnings, hey, it could start trucking along towards 120, 120, 125. That was the high back in the end of February, also early January. That's where we could start going to, potentially. So that's Dell. BBY is another one, Best Buy, that I'm watching well in a downtrend. This one's not breaking out by any means, at least as of now, based on the charts. But I'm still watching Best Buy. This one, it's in the crosshairs of tariffs. Let's just say that. Best Buy, they're on Thursday. It looks like in the morning, and their stock is down, at least on the 4-hour time frame, from 103 to 69.70 bucks. It is down 32%. Oof, not ideal. So EPS is expected at $1.09 versus $1.20 from last year, on revenue of $8.82 billion versus $8.85 billion from last year. Revenue is projected to go down 0.3% year over year. Pretty flat to down 0.5% year over year is what it's expected at. Not too bad, but obviously not great. If your revenue's down, it's not ideal. But hey, if they surprise, if guidance is strong, maybe we get a rebound, considering the stock's down so much over the last couple of months. And Marvell is another one, the last stock for the video. And notice how I didn't mention NVIDIA, because I'm making a standalone, or an NVIDIA single video, whatever you want to call it, tonight. So obviously NVIDIA's this week, but we're going to cover them tonight in my other video. So make sure you guys subscribe for that. But Marvell is also this week, and this stock, oh my God, it's down over 50% from the recent highs. Terrible, heading into earnings on Thursday after the bell. So let's see what Marvell can do, man. They're projecting earnings per share of 61 cents versus, analysts have them doing 61 cents versus 24 cents from last year, on revenue of $1.88 billion versus $1.16 billion from last year, up 62% year over year. Think about that, guys. They're growing over 60% revenue, the highest on this list by far, and their stock's down over 50% from highs. Insane. So keep your eyes on Marvell. MRVL is the ticker. We kind of have a little lopsided inverse head and shoulders here, if you will. You kind of see it. Maybe not. I don't know. But you're noticing that right here. Stock's been down, kind of flat now for a little bit. But, maybe earnings turn things around. for this company, for the stock, which if I pull up the 3-year chart, it's not looking too bad. Yeah, not looking too bad. It just got, way too hot when it got over $125 a share. It was just way too hot. So those are 5 companies, 5 stocks for this week. We broke down the news regarding the EU as well. What are your thoughts on all of this? Let me know in the comments. Join the free email stock newsletter and check out my Patreon if you guys want to see what I'm doing in my portfolio every week. I'm building out a portfolio, which I have been doing now for over 2 years on Patreon, and we're now to the point where we're investing thousands of dollars a month. We started off investing, I think it was $50 a week or $100 a week in this portfolio, but now it's grown so much to the point where $50 to $100 a week. I mean, although it is good to invest that amount per week, it's not really moving the needle anymore for this portfolio. So we're upping the deposits, and again, we're doing a couple $1,000 a month and completely exploding in a good way this portfolio. We're growing it, man, and it's been a ride. So if you want to be a part of that and the Patreon in general, check out the link down below. And with that being said, cheers. I'll catch you in the next video.